Okay. All right, everybody.
Sure.
Welcome to the first Best Boys Center Ice podcast episode of the 2024-2025 season. I'm Barry Besse, and along with me is the handsome and smart part of the Best Boys Center Ice podcast, my son Carson. We started this last year about mid-season, and because we always wanted to do, we talk about hockey all the time when we go up on our trips to Dallas to see Stars and Oilers games. We talk for like 2.5 hours about hockey, so we figured why not do a podcast about it? And so we started it last year. I thought very successful. This year, we've even stepped it up a little bit more. We're on a StreamYard, and we're going to be a part of the I Am Refocused Radio Network with Shemaiah Reed. Also, along with that is our good friend Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League. So we're so proud to be a part of the I Am Refocused Radio Network. Also, Carson is this year the play-by-play announcer for the UTSA Roadrunners club hockey team. They had one home game so far. They're going to be, there's going to be a limited schedule on them, but Carson is going to be doing the home games. Carson's got some interesting stuff coming up too later this month. He's going to Canada to do the Western Road Swing with the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's going to start it's going to be in the third week of October. He'll start in Winnipeg for the Jets Penguins, and he'll go to Calgary for the Flames Penguins, Edmonton for the Oilers and Penguins, and then end the trip out in Vancouver. He's going to basically, and then we go to the Dallas game on the 19th of October for the Oilers. So he's basically going to see 5 games in 7 days in 2 countries. So in one state and 4 different provinces, or 3 different provinces. So it's very exciting, and Carson will be doing some live video and stuff like that we'll share with you, and we'll probably wind up doing the podcast with him on the road in Canada. But what we wanted to do today is we wanted to give you we're almost done with the preseason. The regular season starts next week on the 9th of October. So we wanted to kind of go through and give you an idea, a rundown of how we thought our teams did in the off season. We'll take a preview of our teams, and we'll also take a look at what things look like for the NHL. And first off, I guess I'm going to start. I want to, we all know what happened last year in the Stanley Cup Finals with the Edmonton Oilers, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
What happened?
Well, we didn't win, but we almost made history. The Oilers, I was playing the game, right? The Oilers almost made history by coming down from a 0-3 deficit in the Stanley Cup Final, and we're within a couple of goals, and a couple of goals of winning the Stanley Cup. And so that much like the Florida Panthers the year before, they were on a redemption, like they wanted to get back. Well, the Oilers definitely want to get back at it, and how they started doing it is with their off-season signings. I'm going to start with who's coming in to the Oilers this year. Now, I'm going to start by saying they finally did the extension with Leon Draisaitl. For 8 years, he's going to become, next season, he'll become the highest paid player in the National Hockey League, unless something else happens. But I think this was key for the Edmonton Oilers organization. They signed Draisaitl, and next year they have to kind of do the same thing with Connor McDavid. So I'm kind of thinking that Draisaitl wouldn't have really signed if there was no chance that they were going to sign McDavid.
Yeah.
So
there's something going on, but behind the scenes, something there in that team.
But so that was something that doesn't affect it won't affect his contract until next year, but he's locked in for the next 9 seasons, including this season. But Calvin Pickard, who I think really proved himself as a solid backup goaltender for the Oilers, he signed. He re-signed with the Oilers. That makes maybe not the best goaltending, not the number one goaltending duo, but a very solid goaltending duo with Stuart Skinner. One that, if you asked me at the end of the regular season that this was going to happen, I would say why. But the Oilers did re-sign Connor Brown, and Connor didn't have a great start to the season, but he sure came on in his role. He may not have been like a goal scorer like he was before, but he came on in his role, and he had an excellent playoffs.
He did, yeah. He played really well, actually,
especially on the penalty kill. One of the big signings came from the arch rival LA Kings. Victor Arvidsson came. He signed with the Oilers as a free agent, and I think the idea is to put him on the wing with Leon Draisaitl. And the next signee, which I'm really excited about, Jeff Skinner from Buffalo. Skinner has been a 30-goal scorer on a very bad team in Buffalo, and I think they're going to put him on the other side with Draisaitl, and then keep the big line, McDavid, Hyman, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think, which would be
That's going to be a good fit.
They signed Josh Brown from the Ottawa Senators, so that's kind of like one of those.
Depth signing.
So Corey Perry re-signed. I was a little bit. I wasn't. I guess surprised is the word, because I thought. I don't know if Corey was going to sign for another year, but I think he has something he wants to prove, because unfortunately he's now been a part of four teams that have gone to the Stanley Cup final and lost. And then, of course, he did win with the Anaheim Ducks a few years back. So maybe he wants another shot at the Cup. So he's a good role player. He's going to be a good guy on the bottom six. One that I love is Matthias Janmark re-signing. Carson fell in love. I fell in love with him just for his tenacity. He's a little guy. He's great on the power play. Him and Derek Ryan are the power play guys. Connor Brown too, I think. Or I'm sorry,
kill.
The penalty kill. No, I don't think they're on the power. They're not even on the second. No, I think they might be. No, I don't think so. Troy Stetcher re-signs. We didn't really get to see a lot of him. He signed late in the season. From I guess it's Utah, or no, it was Arizona at the time. And then Adam Henrique re-signed. That was a good re-signing. I think Adam had a good playoff run.
Good depth piece for the Oilers. Depth piece in general for the past 5-10 years in the NHL. He's played good in every city, every team.
Yeah,
and he played good down the stretch for the Oilers, I think.
Yeah. And he had a good playoff run too. Okay, so that's what the additions have been for the Oilers now. Some of the guys are on the outs, and the two that went right away off of offer sheets, Dylan Holloway, who I was really impressed with in his rookie season, and Philip Broberg, who came on and played had a good playoffs. They got offer sheets from the St. Louis Blues at the same time, which was really weird when that came up. But the Oilers had a chance, I think, to keep them for less, but they had a plan. And it's obvious what the plan was. So Holloway and Broberg off to St. Louis.
They'll fit in bigger roles there than I think they would in Edmonton.
Yeah, so they'll be a lot higher up. And they traded Ryan McLeod to Buffalo for Matt Savoy. McLeod, I think, had good points of the season. He looked good at some parts, and then some parts he kind of disappeared a little bit.
And Savoy, I mean, you get a younger guy who isn't ready. Obviously, he's not ready right now. He just got sent to, I think, to be part of Bakersfield for this year.
Yeah,
he's a very young guy, though. That'll be a good part of the fold here in a few years. But I mean, it's a good trade-off for both sides.
Yeah.
McLeod again gets to go to a team where he's probably going to be a big part of that. A struggling team. Where he can have an immediate impact right now. He probably won't be off the lineup.
No.
And Savoy gets a chance to learn from the best in the game. So it works out.
Yeah, it all works out. And they traded Cody Ceci to San Jose.
Bye-bye.
For Emberson. And he had a rough year.
I told you.
Yeah.
I warned you.
I know.
I warned you about him.
I know. Because he played for the Penguins. And he played exactly the same way for the Penguins.
He screwed up.
So when he put him with Nursey Boy, Darnell Nurse, that was
the worst defensive pair.
Because literally in the first two rounds, every bad goal and one of them was involved in either not covering their guy or knocking the puck into their own net. But
again, Emberson's one of those younger guys, and CC can go to San Jose and he'll still be part of that lineup, be a big part of that defensive core. So it works out for both sides.
Two guys that I was so sorry that we had to let go or that sign with Vinny DeHarnay with Vancouver. I thought Vinny really showed himself that he was a top-notch defenseman while he was here in Edmonton, especially towards the end of the year and into the playoffs. And Warren Foegele, I love Warren Foegele. He's going to go down and play. He's going to be with the Kings. Foegele was great.
He got a lot more money, though, than he would have in Edmonton.
Oh, yeah.
He got like $5 a year?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not getting that in Edmonton.
So that's what the Oilers did in the offseason. Now, of course, when you look at you look at the upcoming season and you think, well, mathematically, the Oilers should be in contention for the Stanley Cup again this year. You just look at the players they have, the core team.
They got better.
They got
a lot better.
They got better, and but you don't know until you get on the ice and you start playing, because we thought this too a year ago right now that the Oilers were going to start out with a bang, and they started out with a boom, and went with 2-9-1 or something like that. I should remember that because I said that a lot during the regular season.
They started off with a bang with the 8-1 loss to Vancouver.
8-1. They lost 2 games back to back against Vancouver. So I think when you look at what the Oilers need to do, I think they need to just make this the redemption season. Make this like, okay, we got that close to winning our 6th Stanley Cup as a franchise.
Yeah.
First Canadian team in 32 years, with the possibility of the history, everything that happened. So to me, that is what the Oilers are needing to do. And if they fall on bad times, whether it's at the beginning of the season, whatever, they have to go back to their mindset of when they were having to chase everybody for the whole season.
That was a win at all costs mentality. They had to win those games.
Yeah,
they were so far behind, they had to win.
It was like playoff games for them all the way through. So, like I said, the Oilers came within a couple of goals of winning the Stanley Cup. It was we were of course following it, and after 0-3, I thought, okay, well, it's done, but they just kept coming back. They just will not quit. That's the mentality they need to keep
They're
going.
going to be a force in that Western.
Potential for, I think, 40 goal scorers in McDavid, Draisaitl, Skinner, and Zach Hyman.
That would be crazy if that happens.
I'm not. Yeah,
I'm thinking the potential's there, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I think you're going to have McDavid, Draisaitl. I kind of think Nuge is going to have another close to 100-point season. I think
I think he'll get in the 90s.
He'll get into the 90s. He'll get close. Mm-hmm. So the top 6 is going to be key, but I think the key for the Oilers is the bottom 6 and the depth that they've got. If they can take the pressure off the top 6, they're going to go golden.
If you can spread the wealth around the team, forget it. It's over.
And then the goaltending, like Stu Skinner had he had a decent regular season, horrible start to the playoffs, but a lot of it wasn't his fault that we talked about. But after being pulled in the Vancouver series, he was great from that point on. So I'm hoping that the combination of Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard will get the Oilers that higher up on the goaltending ranks. The defense should be strong, I think.
Yeah.
We lost Vinny. You can say whatever we say about CC, but we know you still got Darnell Nurse, who that's not my favorite guy. I'm sorry. I'm an Oiler guy, true and true, but that's not my favorite guy
anymore.
He shouldn't be a top guy. I think you still got, Bouchard is heading into, he needs to have his contract extended after this coming season too. So he should have a good season again. And you got Matthias Ekholm.
Yeah.
Matthias Ekholm is a fantastic defenseman, but he showed he can do offense too.
Absolutely.
He could be an offensive guy. This is going to be the first full year for Knobloch behind the bench.
Excited to see that for sure.
Paul Coffey's back behind the bench. I'm looking forward to watching the team. I'm looking forward to watching hockey, period. But I'm looking forward to watching the Oilers play because it's just, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of okay, we're gonna get back. I'm not saying the team is gonna get back, but they're in that.
There's a good chance.
There's a good chance.
They're in that.
Now, do they want the Pacific Division? I think that
Yes.
But do they need it? No. Do they want the President's Trophy? No. Nobody wants the President's Trophy.
They prove they can win on the road too.
Yeah. So to me, it's like let's get the team back to the Cup. It's going to be a tough run through the West. The West is loaded with Nashville, Dallas, of course, Colorado, Vegas. All of these teams, they have to get through again. So, but it all starts for the Oilers next Wednesday, and I'm just excited to watch. I'm excited to go to the Dallas game. I'm planning a little trip to Vegas, first part of December, for the Oilers Vegas game. That's going to be watching, seeing the Vegas show in the arena from the TV was something, but that's what I'm going.
In person would be cool.
So, just looking, we
both are. We're ready.
We're ready. I've been an Oilers fan since the old WHA days in the 70s. So every year about this time, and he's the same way with the Penguins. It's like the NHL is back, and
it's back.
My Arizona Diamondbacks didn't make the playoffs, so I don't have to be
unfortunate there.
Yeah, unfortunate, but I can totally focus on the NHL. So now Carson's going to go through what he feels the Penguins did, how they did in the offseason, and what their preview is.
Yep. All right. So I'm going to maybe a bit of a different format from yours, but last year was disappointing, then heroic, and then disappointing because we didn't make the playoffs for the second straight year. We got so close to making that cut, but because of just how late we got into the race by really being the best team in the league in the last month.
Honestly, yeah.
We were the best, probably the hottest team in the league last month, but we just fell short. We lost one big game to Boston at the end, and then by game 82, we were out. But nonetheless, it was a tough pill to swallow for sure, because if we would have just played the way we did at the end of last year, we would have won, or not won, but made the playoffs. But it is what it is. But going into this off season, there were a couple things that needed to be addressed. So first was forward depth for sure. Forward depth was not there for most of last season, and mainly because of that, the top guys were the only guys scoring goals, and because of that, the team wasn't scoring goals. And we had a great goal differential. We finished right about even, I think, at the goal differential by the end of the year, but we weren't scoring any goal. And you're not going to win a game in the NHL if you only score twice or three times a night. Nope, not going to happen. No. Goaltending and defense was pretty solid. One big sore thumb incident there was the power play and how bad and horrendous it was. We were 31st ranked in the league on the power play, and again, big reason we didn't make the playoffs, because one point in the season we went 27, 30 straight power plays without scoring a goal. Finally did. That can't happen again. There are plenty of things that had to be addressed, and so because of that, the team went out this offseason. I feel like with what we had, we did a very good job in improving as well as the youth of the team by making the team a bit younger and faster and filling the holes that were in our bottom six especially. So I'll start off with what you did with your additions. So first addition, what I'm pretty excited about is off of free agency signing, the Penguins signed Anthony Beauvillier to a 1-year deal. A guy that, again, was a thorn in the side when he played for the Islanders. We had to play against him. He's a 27-year-old forward, signed a 1-year deal, free agency with us. Looks like as of now he's going to be playing on the wing with Sid, which is going to be cool because it seems so far to have great chemistry in the preseason. He's a really fast player, and he's pretty smart with the puck and where he needs to be. So it seems like that's going to be a good fit, but I'm excited to see that. Next, we bolstered up our defense a little bit and acquired Matt Grzelcyk via free agency from Boston as well. A guy who, honestly, the last couple of years hasn't played that great with them, but I feel like maybe a change of scenery will help him out. It seems like he'd be a good fit on the second pairing, probably to play with Chris Letang, which I'd love to see that because He's a very stay-at-home kind of defenseman, which will allow Chris to play up and play more offense, which I think is more suited to his game to play up and play up with the forwards instead. Next is Cody Glass from Nashville. A trade. We basically gave away a draft pick, and we received a draft pick and Cody Glass in return. Found it more of a capped up for Nashville because of all their free agency stuff, which we'll get into later. I'm really excited about him. So far in the preseason action, he's looked very fast, very aware to where he is with the puck, where the puck's going to be, using his body a little bit to get the puck. He seems like he's going to be a good grinding third line guy. I'm very excited to see him. Looks like he could probably be a 40, 50-point guy, which I'd love to see. He's young, another young guy. He's in his early mid-20s, which is something we need, is to not be an average age of like 30 plus for every player.
Yeah.
So that helps out. Another free agency signing, a mucker guy on the fourth line, is Blake Lizotte. We got from LA. You might be familiar with him because of his days of picking. Short, smaller guy by size, but he's not afraid to get his nose dirty, get those board battles in the corner. Seems like he's going to be a great fit for that fourth line, and I'm really excited to see how he does on that fourth line. Appears he'll probably be with your old boy Jesse Puljujarvi, who's looking like he'll probably make the team based on how he's played so far, and then Noel Chari, which I'm excited. Fills a lot of the holes that we've needed. We also had Kevin Hayes in a trade from St. Louis, a guy who's in his mid or early 30s. I think he's 32. Maybe a bit above the age we want, but he seems like he'll be a good third line center guy, or a wing even potentially. He's still got some scoring touch in him, and it seems like he's very smart decision-making kind of player. Seems like he'll have good awareness of where to go, making crisp, clean plays, passes, facilitating plays in the offensive zone. Seems like as well he's very defensively aware, which is something we need, obviously, to be both back defensively and up on the forward rush. And then lastly, the one I'm most excited for, maybe won't make an immediate join to the team because of his age, but it's the trade we made with Winnipeg for Rutger McGroarty. Probably one of the most touted prospects in the league. Was not happy in Winnipeg, did not want to play there anymore for whatever reason, which I don't agree with. As a fan in general, I feel like you get drafted where you play, you should play there. But it is what it is. He got out of Winnipeg, and he's with us now, and I'm happy to have him. Seems like he'll be a good guy that can be brought in maybe after a few games to get him some experience in the league. I would like to see him with Sid just because he seems to have that magic to create these young stars right away. But I think he'll be more of a third-line guy, which, again, I think will be fine for him. He's played good in the preseason. He's gotten a few points. But we'll see how he does. I just don't agree with that kind of logic at the same time of just not being satisfied. But you don't know what was going on behind closed doors. So he got in a good situation. Both teams really benefited from that, and I'll get into explanation of that in a second. But those were the big additions. I think that fills just so many holes in this roster. Seems like up and down we're going to be a lot deeper. Even the guys that maybe aren't in the lineup on opening night will still be able to step in and make a big impact. And I think it'll take the pressure off the big guys, which will make it easier for us to score a lot more goals and be a really high contending team. I think with what he did, I'll give Kyle Dubas probably a B+, A-, probably an A- on this offseason because he got the team younger. He got guys that are ready to play, that have the ability to play and produce with not really that much cap space either. And he got some draft picks as well, which will help us in the future when the big guys are done playing. So he did a pretty good job as far as that goes. Now for the departures. Some of them I'm kind of disappointed about, others not really. The first one I'm not really disappointed about is Riley Smith getting traded away to the
I have to agree with that one. He was, they picked him up from Vegas thinking after the Stanley Cup win, and he just did not.
He looked awesome at the beginning of the season with Evgeny Malkin. Them two were just feeding off each other left and right. It seemed like every game, each of them was scoring a goal from the other, assist by the other. And then after like 20, 30 games, just nothing. Like he didn't look like he wanted to play there. Even when he scored, he didn't look excited, like he was happy. Might have had other stuff going on, who knows. I'm actually kind of surprised we even got rid of him because I didn't think that anybody would want to take him for his contract, or his cap, because his cap was pretty high. But we traded him to New York in exchange, I believe, just for some draft picks, for a draft pick. So hopefully he does good there. He's a good player. He just wasn't in the right environment, wasn't meant to be in Pittsburgh. And what it is. Maybe he'll thrive better in New York with the Rangers. Next up is a guy who'll be joining your two, Holloway and Broberg in St. Louis, and that's P.O. Joseph, younger defenseman, signed a free agency deal in St. Louis to play with his brother Matthew, which is pretty cool. A guy I really liked watching, but he just didn't really get some points at fair crack in Pittsburgh just because of the way the defense was structured. He couldn't really afford to mess up without getting taken out of the lineup. And obviously in the league, you're going to mess up. You're a human being. But he seems like a great locker room personality and a good upcoming player who would probably be a good asset for St. Louis and really helps them keep a younger defensive core. The next up is Jeff Carter, who retired after this year. One of the better players in the 20 teens in the NHL. He played over 1,300 NHL games, won 2 Stanley Cups with the Kings, played the last 3 or 4 years of his career with Pittsburgh, and played awesome at points with us and played not so awesome with us at points. But definitely a guy that had a great career and is probably going to be Hall of Fame bound, I imagine, with how great of a career he had. It was nice, too, at the end of last year. The last game he plays, he scores a goal and, closes off his career that way. And definitely a guy that, as much as I didn't like his play style at points, that still I'm very appreciative of his contributions and how hard he played when he played. And hopefully he has a good retirement. Next up is just more of a minor deal, but Vinny Hinostroza, who is a kind of in and out of the lineup, but more of a depth piece going to Nashville. He'll probably be on a depth piece, I imagine, there too. He probably won't be in the lineup, but still a guy that stepped in every when he needed to and played his heart out, but it just didn't really play consistently in our lineup either. And then the last one was the trade that went with McGroarty. We had to send away somebody to them, and that was Braden Yeager, one of our prospects, who was our best prospect at the time. He went to Winnipeg in exchange. He's not as NHL ready as McGroarty is, but they're both franchises benefit heavily from that. I'm sad we had to get rid of him because he was somebody I was looking forward to watching in the future. But for now, he'll be a Winnipeg Jet. But yeah, those are our additions and departures. Really good offseason. I'm excited for the season to start. I've been chomping at the bit. I mean, again, the Penguins haven't played a hockey game in almost 6 months.
Yeah.
Because they didn't make the playoffs. So I've been waiting, chomping at the bit for this to start up. We only got 1 more week left. As far as the season outlook goes, I'm really excited for the season because I feel like there's no expectations. People don't think we're going to be any good.
Yeah.
They think we're going to be at the bottom of the division, 7th, 8th place in the division. So there's no pressure on the team to do well. This is my message to all that. This team had at one point a 2% chance of making the playoffs, and within a few weeks was in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Right. That's playing only basically really that good for a month. If they play even that good for a few months, they're in the playoffs. And they beat some good teams. I mean, along down the stretch, we had to play some tough games, and we won some tough games. We beat Tampa Bay. We beat Carolina during the season, which we hadn't done in a while. We finally cracked the code against the Devils and beat them. We beat the Rangers, but people just think because of how old the team is and the guys that are superstars are getting older, closer to retirement age, that they're not going to be any effective.
Right.
And I don't see it that way.
A lot of people are going to be sleeping on Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, and I'm fine with that. I mean, if they keep playing the way they did last year at the end, they're going to be fine. The defense was awesome last year. Goaltending was phenomenal. Honestly, we had a great goaltending tandem last year. They did an amazing job holding down the fort. We made a change with the coaching staff. Power play coaching has been revamped. David Quinn steps in, who used to coach San Jose. I'm really excited for him to be there because he coached Erik Karlsson in San Jose, a guy that I really want to see offensively step up more and be allowed to. And I think he will with this system. It's already seemed to be working in the preseason. They scored, I think, a power play goal in almost every preseason game so far. And that's something that you really want to see from his team. And that was really the biggest reason we didn't make the playoffs last year, was because of that. Yeah. So I'm very excited for this season. Personally, I think that we'll finish 3rd in the division. I just think that the way this team played at the end of the year, they've gotten better this offseason. I think they're going to be hungry to make the playoffs. The big guys want to go back and win a 4th Stanley Cup. They want to go back there and win. And I think they're going to do what it takes to get there. I really think they could finish 3rd in the division and they'll make the playoffs this year. Nonetheless, I'm just excited to watch the games again. No matter if it's the Penguins or not, I'm excited to just watch hockey games. But for this team, I think that the playoffs are definitely going to be the goal. Now, do I think that we have obviously a higher shot of winning it? No, I don't. But you never know what happens when you get in the playoffs, and I would just like to see this team in the playoffs again.
Yeah.
Even if they just make it to the first round and get knocked out, I just want to see a playoff crowd again there. I want to see them competing. But with the guys you have on the roster, they're going to be hungry to win. And it's going to be hard to beat that. I really do think that.
And then I think you're right. I think the key is like you get another shot with the big guys at getting another cup.
And the only guy probably in the league not ever, but probably one of the very few guys ever in the league to not decline as his career goes is Sid.
Yeah.
Last year, how great of a season!
Oh, he had a
40
phenomenal
goal season. He had a
season.
40 goal season last year at
Yeah.
36 years old.
And they
just extended him as well.
Extended him. So Sid is one of those players that it's just
Father time doesn't catch.
Yeah, it's almost like Gordie Howe. Like, I know Gordie didn't score a lot when his end of his career, but he played in 5 decades, I think, or something. So Sid is like one of those guys that just like, he's still, to me, Sid the kid, because he's still playing like that.
And you know what? I'm excited to see him come back and all the guys come back, because he's the type of guy that wants to win. And he's staying because he knows he can have the chance to win. If he didn't think he could win, he wouldn't stay. But he thinks he has a chance to win, and that's why he's still here. Obviously, the guys that have come into the fold have a lot to prove, because, they need to step up and make it a full team effort. So that way the top guys don't have to do all the work. I'm very excited to see, hopefully, Bovilli on the first line, see how that works. But I'm very excited for the second line to get a full year of that. Michael Bunting was probably the MVP of that late season rush at the end, because he was factoring in on so many goals and wasn't afraid to get his nose dirty. But for that kind of playing style, he had practically a point per game, and he was like firing on all cylinders. Great passing, great scoring. I'm just excited for this year. We start our season the same night as you guys. We play the Rangers opening night, but it's going to be a fun season nonetheless. But I think third in the division is where we're going to get to. But, well, on that note, we're going to move on to the NHL in general, because there's a lot that has happened this summer in the league. And, obviously with the season starting next week, we'll still be able to get into more stuff that's maybe happened around the league before the season really officially starts, because both of our teams won't be in action until Wednesday. NHL starts technically this Friday, the regular season, because the Sabres and Devils are playing in the Global Series in Prague. So they're playing back-to-back games on Friday and Saturday. But in North America, the NHL regular season doesn't start until next week. And I think it's a triple header. I want to say it's Seattle and maybe Nashville. And then Florida will have their championship ceremony. And then after that, I want to say it's maybe LA or something. I don't know. There's a triple header next Tuesday, and then Wednesday is when the full slates begin. Right. But in the NHL, this offseason was a very interesting offseason. A lot of things happened, which typically, the offseason can be pretty chaotic, but I feel like this one in general was pretty chaotic overall. Sorry, we have this. Somebody at the door real quick, but this offseason in general was just very, I don't know. It went through a range of emotions, a range of things, some things that we'll talk about that happened. Right now, the most recent thing that has happened that has really sparked my attention, I don't know if you've noticed it, Boston is in big trouble now.
Huge.
So they had, for the past couple years, had the best goaltending tandem in the league by far, no doubt. Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark were a dynamic duo of goaltenders. They won the Jennings Trophy in the 22-23 season for the best goaltending tandem, and Boston won 65 games, which is also an NHL record in the regular season. And they were a dynamic duo. In this offseason, Boston traded away Linus Ullmark, which seemed like more of a cap dump, because they picked up Jonas Korpisalo and got some draft picks and smaller players off of that for Linus Ullmark, which makes sense because Linus probably wanted to be a bigger guy. In Ottawa, he will be the number one, and he very deservingly so. He's a solid player. But right now, a big story that has been coming out of Boston is the drama between the Boston Bruins ownership, GM, everybody basically in the front office, and Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah, it's like
it very much looks like he's going to be on his way out of Boston and is okay with exploring trade opportunities. There was something that happened yesterday morning with him not showing up to camp and not playing in any preseason games. Cam Neely, who I believe is the president of the Boston Bruins right now, made a very big mistake yesterday in a media address, basically saying that there were 64 million reasons why Jeremy Swayman, or why he would be playing if you're Jeremy Swayman, when Swayman hadn't been formally offered a contract yet and hadn't been told any amount. His camp is not very happy about this, thinks it's unprofessional, and they're definitely going to be exploring all options for him, which is, that is just a catastrophe for the Bruins, because you go from having one of the best goaltending tandems probably ever in a season, to you're going to have Jonas Korpisalo and I think it's Brandon Besse, who has never played in the NHL hardly. And even Korpisalo, I feel like, is not awesome. I mean, he's okay, but that team's going to struggle.
Mhm.
And it's crazy how this is going on. But I mean, I think Swayman can be going somewhere else where he'll be more appreciated and valued, and he can still be that number one guy. I'd like to see him go maybe to a weaker team that needs a number one, that he can be that number one and build him up. But yeah, big drama coming out of Boston with that. And we'll kind of follow up on that story when it becomes more clear. I've already seen reports that Korpisalo is going to be starting opening night. So even with that, the Bruins won't play for another week or a week and a day. And there's no clarity on what's going to happen with this. And that's going that far into a week in advance.
This could be a big problem for the Bruins. And it's like, you get rid of one of your number one guys in Allmark, and then now you can't do anything with Swayman. They were considered the best goaltenders in the NHL the last few years.
Shoot, what if Swayman went to Ottawa?
Yeah.
Imagine if he went to Ottawa.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what? Swayman deserves his respect, and he's not getting it there. He can definitely go somewhere else and be a number one. He would already be the number one in Boston, but I think he needs to go somewhere else to be more appreciative.
Yeah.
Or not be appreciated, but be more appreciated by the ownership, and who won't use his frustrations against him. Next up, where obviously the biggest winner of the free agency this offseason was by far Nashville. I don't think that can be argued.
You can't argue with that at all. That
No.
Nashville went to town. They loaded up.
They loaded up this. They are going all in to try to win this thing this year, get themselves their first championship in franchise history. They get Steven Stamkos, former captain of the Lightning, who is one of the best goal scorers in the league right now. They go out from Vegas and get Jonathan Marchessault, so another really big piece who's going to be a big part of that team for them. I think a good second line guy for sure. He's going to be a big factor in that team's offense and their grittiness. They get Brady Shea from Carolina, who is going to be probably one of their top defensemen. They already have a great defensive core. They have Roman Josi there, who's going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. That team, and they even get UC Saros to re-extend his contract. That team just is going to be very exciting to watch. Personally, do I think they're going to win the Cup? No, I don't. But very exciting team to come out of Nashville this year. They're definitely going to be in the playoffs, I would imagine. They're going to be fun to watch, and I'm excited to see what that team goes.
Yeah.
Two, they have a very high ceiling, and I think they're going to get close to that. I just don't think they'll win, but it'll definitely give that city something to be passionate about, with a team that really has been pretty consistently good for a while.
Yeah.
They've never missed a beat. I think they missed the playoffs once in the last 8-9 years. So it's going to be exciting to see what that team does with those guys. Next up, right now in the preseason, there's been a lot of big injuries in the preseason. Drew Dowd. Yeah, Drew Doughty's out. Fractured his ankle. He's out for a few months. Patrick Laine just got knee hit against the Leafs, which I hated that hit. It was horrible to see that, but he's out for months. 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, at least that long. And he just got to Montreal.
Yeah, he just signed with them.
I saw that too, and it was just like
I really think though they're going to be fine. I think, you know what, by the time he comes back, they'll still be in a good spot where they can make a run. If he comes back within that 3-month timeline, that's right before All-Star break, season's not even halfway over. I think he'll be okay. I'm excited to see what he does there, but very unfortunate to see just tons of injuries. You almost don't even want to see your big guys play at all right now, because there just seems to be this injury bug going around in the league. But that's kind of been going on right now in the preseason with less than a week remaining in that. The San Jose Sharks get the first overall pick this draft, and they draft Macklin Celebrini. Obviously, was going to be the number one pick. I'm excited to see what that team does. They got some good pieces there in San Jose, too. They got Will Smith, who's another younger guy that they drafted last year. They got Tyler Toffoli in the fold with them. Cody Ceci they signed. It's just going to be an interesting team to watch. I don't think they'll make any big noise, but they'll definitely be a good team.
They're not going to be.
They'll be the talk of the town. No,
that's for sure.
I think they'll still finish like 6th in the division. Toronto switches their captaincy.
Yeah.
Okay, John Tavares gives up his captaincy to Austin Matthews.
I'd love to have heard that conversation.
Yep. You know what? It'll work how it works for them, but I don't think it's going to work out very well. And I mean, I've already gotten in debates with people on social media about how Matthews really just isn't as great I think as people think he is. He's a great goal scorer. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes down to crunch time, none of those guys in Toronto show up. They disappear.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews last year in the playoffs has some kind of sickness, illness, and he misses multiple games in the playoffs, ends up losing in the first round to Boston. Marner wasn't there. Those three guys in general are making around $40 million on their own between the three of them, and they don't perform when it matters. So I don't think this is going to change anything for the Leafs. They'll probably be a great regular season team as they always are, and then make the playoffs in April
and fall apart.
The only thing that'll happen, either they fall apart or they'll actually make a miracle run and go win it. That's it. There's not going to be any ifs, ands, or buts with that team. They're cursed, if you want to say that. They're cursed. There's no saving that. I don't think Austin Matthews being a captain is going to help. But you never know. I just don't think he has the leadership potential that John Tavares had, and it seemed like there's a bit of a reluctancy on his part to let go of that. He did not want to not be the captain, but
you can almost
upper
tell
management
in the press conference.
Upper management makes their choice, and he has to follow it because he needs to get paid and he needs to play, and that's just what it is. So he'll be able to take a smaller role, I guess, and just focus on playing and let Matthews take all the pressure of being captain. The last big story I want to talk about real quick before I guess we can go on to something else before we end it here about 6:45-ish. The biggest story of the summer, the whole world knows about this, is the unfortunate passing of Johnny Gaudreau on August 30th or 31st. Star player for the Columbus Blue Jackets, whose life was cut way too short due to a drunk driving incident. His brother and himself were bike riding in one of the townships in New Jersey, and were unfortunately ran over by a drunk driver who was impatient to get to where he was wanting to go. Later in the evening, around 8 p.m., and they were ran over and both killed instantly by impact. The league is taking plenty of actions to remember these players. I think beginning in the regular season or beginning of the season, all teams will have decals on their helmets with 13 to 21, which were both their numbers that they wore. With, I believe it's just JG or something like that. I don't know. I think it's JG for Johnny Gaudreau since he played in the NHL. Obviously, the two teams, Calgary and Columbus, who he played for in the NHL, will do things throughout the season to remember him.
I think Columbus. I think you were just going to probably say this: is Columbus is going to keep his jersey and his
uniform in the stall all year. I'd imagine Monahan's going to be sitting next to his stall. I'd imagine there's going to be stuff throughout both those arenas, which I'm excited to go to Calgary in a couple of weeks because I imagine there's a memoriam out there, and I definitely want to visit that and pay respects to that. But a very tragic story. No matter who you rooted for, I feel like you couldn't hate him. He was a great player, and was known for being very undersized but very skilled and just gritty and wanting to win. And he seemed like one of those guys that you couldn't hate off the ice because he was such a great person. He seemed like out of the rink, but it's unfortunate you see these kind of tragedies happen. It happens all the time in everyday life to everybody, but to like people. But when it hits more closer to home when it's somebody you followed for years and it's more of a celebrity style person. A lot of people probably before this incident didn't know who Johnny Gaudreau was, and now this has probably become one of the more sad stories that could ever happen. And it's great. It's great for his family because they have the support of the Blue Jackets and Flames staff team. I believe I just saw a story where all the Blue Jackets players went to his daughter's birthday party that was this weekend, and all of them showed up to her birthday. His wife has support. Matthew's wife has support,
and that's the NHL community, and it's not only the NHL community, but you've seen it all over in college football. You've seen it in the NFL. You've seen players in all sports react to it. Johnny Hockey, he played in Calgary, and he was the thorn in the side of the Edmonton Oilers for so many years. But I never I don't hate any player that has ever played for the Calgary Flames. It's just because I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan. You root against the Calgary Flames. But Johnny Gaudreau was even a guy that even if you just couldn't, like Carson said, you just could not hate him. And when this happened, it happened just a couple of days before his sister's wedding. That's why everybody was gathered in New Jersey. And now we find out a few weeks later that his wife is pregnant with their third child.
And even his brother too. His brother's wife they're expecting their first now, and they're both be welcoming their children around the same time. But it's a horrible story, but it really gathered the league together. Definitely those first couple week or so after this incident didn't feel like real. You didn't even know how the game could really go on. But unfortunately, and fortunately, at the same time, the NHL is a business. It still has work to be done. These players still need to play. They'll definitely be playing for him and remembering him and his impact. But the season must go on. Both Blue Jackets and Flames are obviously going to be in action. All the teams are going to be in action, and it's starting to feel like normal again. But it will not feel the same not seeing him play ever again. He definitely just had such a big impact. But you know what? It just teaches you a lesson that you can't ever take anything for granted, and you never know when your day's your last. So be careful, be responsible, but live your life fully, because you never know when it's cut short. And as you know, thank God that, you know, unfortunately they did pass, but thank God that it seemed to be rather quick, that didn't have to suffer through that. But you know, they'll both be remembered as amazing people, and he lived what looked like a very plentiful life. He had a lot of people that loved him and cared about him, and he played a sport.
And he did a lot off the ice.
And
he had both Calgary and
he had people
Columbus.
That too.
So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Gaudreau family, and you know that the teams, all the teams around the league are going to do something. Definitely,
I think that they're going to have to in Columbus. I want to say behind the goals will have number 13, which I mean I really think the whole league should do that this year. Paint 13 behind the goals.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see. I guess just more of the movements that are done around the league, because you imagine the first little bit, at least the first game for each team at home will have a memoriam for them. Again, I'm excited to see it in Calgary when I go. I know there's going to be plenty to see there. See with the Gaudreau stuff, I would definitely want to go and maybe drop something there, or just leave something behind, like a note or whatever. Because you know what, Johnny didn't play really that much against the Penguins at all. He definitely had his moments where he scorched us, but he's definitely one of the guys I really liked watching and respected his play. And it is what it is, unfortunately. But that was the biggest story this offseason. You hope that nothing like this happens anytime soon in the NHL. But I think it'll unite the players and really give them a reason to just play, because he was one of those guys that just said, just play, no matter what. And maybe it'll be prevalent at the end of this year that one of those guys has a moment where he could have quit, got hurt, but he came and played anyway, because you never know when you'll never get to play again and play the game you love and see the people you love again. So
it'll be a day I'll never forget. That's for sure. No. And
it's definitely the worst NHL death. I think you remember the Colby Cave death, and even it's been Colby Cave, Adam Johnson, when he died last year. But this is definitely even in the sports world, probably one of the most tragic incidents.
I compare it to when Kobe Bryant was killed.
Oh yeah, that was helicopter crash. Everybody knew what they were doing that day.
And are you going to remember where you were when the Gaudreaus, when you heard about the Gaudreaus passing? But like Carson said, the NHL season goes on, and so do we. We're going to be here every weeknight. Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we're going to be here live on Facebook through Stream the Yard. And again, I want to say thank you to Shemaya Reed and I Am Refocused Radio Network, Rudy Campos Jr. and Sweep the League. It's a great network. Please check it out. I Am Refocused Radio or I Am Refocused Radio Network. You can check it out. We're going to be on there all season. Like I said, we got some exciting stuff coming up. Carson's Western Canadian road trip. My trip to Vegas. Our trip to Dallas.
Oh, I can't wait for that. That'll be a fun drive.
I love going to Dallas. I love that arena. I love the people in that arena. They treat the out-of-towners
great.
Really great. I can't wait. Lots of great things we're going to be covering again. The Oilers and the Penguins are our guys, but we want to hear from you. You know what? When we do the podcast, we want to hear your favorite from your favorite team. Maybe you can tell us next week how you think your team did. We love to hear from you. Again, we're on Facebook Live through StreamYard, and we're also on. We still have our YouTube channel, Best Boy Center Ice Podcast. Our personal, the Best Boy Center Ice Podcast Facebook. Our personal Facebooks, and as always, Carson's favorite thing to say for me is
TikTok world.
we're on the TikTok world, and apparently they're sticking around.
Yeah,
So we usually on TikTok we usually do our own, like Carson will do Penguins recaps, I'll do Oilers recaps, but I'm looking forward to it.
Season.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're looking to make big improvements too on our streaming. We're looking at obviously some more like preview video and stuff, and probably more. Maybe this year trying to expand like our audio to different networks like Spotify, Apple Music, so that way it's more visible or more attainable. But for now, we're just trying to get situated for our first full season. Obviously, last year we didn't start till December, so the season was already well in the ways through. This will be our first full season covering, so we'll get all the ups and downs of our teams, and definitely plenty to talk about. Next week, obviously, when we're here, again, Tuesday night.
And we'll be in a different studio, our new studio. This is my office
for one night.
For one night, but we're going to be in a new studio, and we're very excited about it.
We have plenty to look forward to. Next Tuesday, season still will have technically started, so we'll probably talk about maybe the games in Prague and how they went. By that point, when we start again too next week, the first games in North America will be beginning. The first game will already be over because that one's at 3:30. So we will just talk about again what we're looking forward to. Again, probably opening night rosters will be revealed. I imagine are pretty close to reveal, but we'll know who's playing with who and how excited we are for those predictions of those games. And then after that, we'll do our weekly routine of recapping the weeks and recapping the news that's going to happen, because there's going to be plenty of it in the league. We're very excited. We just wanted to get on here and make our little previews for this season and discuss everything that happened, because there's a lot that happened for our teams. I think both of our teams are very successful this offseason.
Yes.
And
I think I give mine an A-.
I give mine an A- too.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see where both of our teams go. Nonetheless, good or bad for our teams, the game is back. We've been waiting for months for it. Hockey's back. We can forget about baseball and the NFL. I don't care.
I still care about the NFL with the Cardinals. So,
But the hockey's back. Even watching the preseason preseason games have been amazing. Shout out to Gino for his hat trick the other day against Ottawa. But really excited. We can't wait. The days can't go any quicker. 8 more days till our teams both drop the puck on their seasons, but more importantly, only 4 more days until the NHL regular season begins.
Right.
I don't care. I'll watch those games in Prague. I know they're later, early in the morning. I'll watch them.
Yeah, we'll watch them in. So we're going to wrap things up. Thank you very much for joining us on the Best Boys Center Ice podcast. Check us out on all our social media. And as always, have a great hockey night. Woo!